Welcome back, CSE 235. Once again, another redirection of what we're doing because things aren't working, but that's okay. And what we'll do is we'll work with phpMyAdmin on the front end, and we'll work the MySQL database. And if you come to phpMyAdmin.net and try the demo, you'll see you have this kind of open sandbox here. And again, I chose MariaDB because it's a little less crowded. And it'll work the same way. You'll still be working with MySQL. And what you're going to do is create a new database. So we're going to do a SpongeBob one. You could call it SB or you could spell out SpongeBob, whatever you want to do. And I'm going to go to databases. And it's real easy to do this. Now you could do this with code, but in here with this front end, you could just give it a name. Now don't put any spaces in. Don't even make anything capitalized. Although tables in MySQL a lot of times are capitalized. The name of the table is capitalized, but I'm not going to capitalize the database. So I'm just going to call it SB, and I'm going to put RMH, just in case there's another RH in the class. I'll just put SB RMH. So that shouldn't mean anything to anybody, but SB stands for SpongeBob. So I'll just put SP-RMH, and I think we can have a dash in there. And actually, you know what? Let's put an underscore just in case. I don't want to get messed up by saying put a dash in there because it looks like here they're using underscores, information schema. These are default parts of MySQL, performance schema, information schema. So let's do an underscore like that. You could say SpongeBob underscore and put your initials, but instead of a dash, let's just do that. So that's the database name. Now that's not going to do anything until we actually put a table in it. So I'm just going to hit create. That's easy enough. Just created a database. You'll see it down there. There it is. That's mine for the whole world to see. And you can see that before I do anything, I have to create a table. So it's prompting me right away to make a table. And let's put 5 columns in here. We're going to do 5. It puts 4 by default. We'll put 5 columns and give it a table name. And I'm going to call it characters. Now, characters might be hard to spell. So just you could do char like that, or you could spell out characters. See, I already spelled it wrong. So I'm going to do a capital C because table names in MySQL a lot of times have a capital letter starting them out, but no spaces, anything like that. And if you want to just put character or car, that's fine. So 5 columns. Remember, columns are the categories along the top. Rows are going to be what we put in them. So here's our table, and I'll hit create. But I'm back to my demo here. Now, what this is doing, it's asking for column names. So we're going to give column names. And the first thing we'll do is we'll just put ID. And we'll make them all lowercase. ID, we'll put F name, L name, and we'll do species. We'll do gender. Or actually, we won't do gender for now. Let's just do color. And if you wanted to add one more, you can add it after that. So I already have this, and they have an add here. So table name, they have add. Let's say you want to put age. Now, I don't know what ages are. That would give us 6 columns. Right now we have 5. We have ID, we have name, we have color. Let's do age. So I'll add one more. And it just added another one after the last one. I'll put age. Now, again, you can look up the ages of these. Now, this is the type. Now, that means you're used to type from programming languages and things like that. Integer, string. Now, for an ID, we're going to leave it as integer. For first name, these are all going to be strings, but they call them varchar. So we'll just do varchar. For all of these, varchar, varchar. Now you could sometimes do something called enum, which is a drop-down list. Like for gender, you could do a drop-down list of male, female, and although these days you could have a bunch of things in there, or nothing, or you know, if it's a computer, then it may not be male or female or whatever. But we'll skip gender for now. But keep in mind, you can have little drop-down lists to choose from, so you don't have to type it in. But color, we'll just put varchar, and age, you could do varchar, and you could just do int as well. So I'll just leave it as int. You could put the amount of characters, age, no one's going to be more than 100. Color, you know, a lot of times 30 is a default for all of these kind of varchars. Although you don't have to put anything in, but I'll put in 30. Nothing's going to be more than that. No one's going to have a 30 name. And actually, I don't want to do anything here. So for ID, I'm not putting anything in. Now, you can scroll across here. I'll go up and scroll across. Now, you don't really have to worry about anything other than I want to go something here that says A_I. And you might be like, well, what the hell is that? That's auto increment. I'm going to check auto increment because that will give me an ID number, and I'm also going to leave this on primary. And you don't have to put anything in here when it auto increments. And I think that's it. I don't think we have to do anything else here. We have our length values. We're not putting anything default in here. And again, we don't have to put anything for a length of ID. It'll just auto-generate an ID. So this is our table that we're creating. We're creating the table structure. So we have columns, 6 columns, because I added age at the end. We had 5 initially. So the first one's ID, first name, last name, species, color. Notice I'm doing all these in lowercase. The only thing uppercase is characters, and I may put their names in uppercase because they're formal names. So that's about it. Now, when you're done here, to create your table, you're just going to hit save. Don't worry about anything else right now. And I'll just hit save. So there's my structure. Now there's nothing in it right now. I didn't insert anything into my table. There's no rows. You could call them records, but rows is really what they're called. I have no rows in my database right now. So let's do that, and we could do that fairly easy with phpMyAdmin. That's what's nice about it. You don't have to type a lot of code, although you can if you want. So let's go to insert, and let's insert some characters in here. We don't have to do a whole lot, 5 or 6, 7, whatever. Just so we have some different things here. Maybe we have different species, maybe same color, so that if you could say all that are the same color, because if they're all different, it's hard to really filter through it. We could put ages, so we could do less than or greater than or anything like that. And let's add some rows to our database. So we'll go to insert. Now, it initially does 2 at a time. And you could do more, whatever. We'll do 2 at a time here. So I'll go here and do nothing for ID. Don't have to put anything there because it's going to auto increment. So you don't have to put anything here. Now, first name. Now, we don't have to do any of this function stuff, so you could skip that. We're just putting the value over here. So again, it's kind of like the MongoDB, if you think about it, the key value thing, except it's going to set it up in a table. And all we're doing is just filling in blanks. Now, we could do this with code to make it easier, because after a while, this won't be a lot of fun. But for now, it's easy. So I'm just going to do SpongeBob. I'll start off with him. The main characters, I think it could be a capital B in there, but just leave it lowercase, capital S. And his last name is SquarePants. Again, it may be a capital P, but let's just leave it like that. And he's a sponge, and he's yellow. And let's just say he's 27. I don't know how old he is. I know they have that somewhere on the web, but let's just say he's 27. So that's all we're filling in. Now let's go down here to Patrick. And again, no ID. It'll be auto-incremented. Let's call him Patrick. And his last name is Star. And if you screw this up, you can go back and edit your database. That's what you'll hear the term CRUD. And CRUD is create, read, update, delete. You'll hear that term with databases. Sometimes I think that's revised, but it's not. It's create, read, update, and delete, and that's what you could do to databases. And that's what we're doing right now. So that's CRUD, and right now we're updating. Or actually, we're creating. I guess we created our database, so we're updating, we're putting in rows. And then we can read after we're done. We could go and query what's in our database. But let's keep moving on here. He's a starfish. And he's pink. Could be coral. And let's say he's a little older than SpongeBob. He's 28. Okay? So let's go down here and hit go. We could go down to the bottom. You could go to each one. Amount of rows to insert, it says 2. So we're going to insert 2. We'll hit go. And this is what it did. It actually inserted in there, and we could add more this way if we want, or you could keep going through there and just going back to insert. But this is what it creates when it actually created. So this actually ran this query. So if you go back to your database now, if you browse, they're in there. Now if I go to SQL, this is where we could run queries in here, but we're just going to keep inserting. So let's go to insert, and we'll add 2 more. So let's add 2 more characters. So remember, no ID. We'll go here and we'll add the next popular character, which is Squidward, and he is tentacles. I was saying Fancyson, but that's his cousin. And he is an octopus, so he is not a squid. Look it up. And he's gray. And he's maybe a little older. We'll say 33. Or he seems that way. So we'll put 33. All right, and then we'll put Mr. Krabs, because he's another popular character. So his first name is Eugene. His last name is Krabs with a K. and his species is a crab, and his color is red, and his age is, let's say he's 57. Make him older than me, because hopefully I'm not. I just turned 56, so I don't want to think I'm as old as Mr. Krabs. So he's a little older than me. So I'll hit go down here so that it does all of them. So there'll be 2 new ones in here, and that's the way it got inserted. Now, I just want to show you something here. You can copy this, like copy this stuff that just got created if you want to try this. And again, you can't really screw anything up, I don't think. So I'll copy this. I did Command-C or Control-C if you're on Windows. You could copy that. And I'm just going to go back to my database. And here's the 4 that are here. Now, if I want to add 2 more. Now, let's maybe add 2 women. We'll add maybe Pearl Crabs and maybe Sandy Cheeks. So I could go into SQL and paste what I just copied. Now, what I'm doing is I'm actually writing SQL code. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, instead of Squidward, I'm going to add 2 at a time here, and you could add more. I'm going to add Cheeks and Sandy, or wait, Sandy, I'm going first name first. So Sandy, and then Cheeks, and she's a squirrel, and she's brown, and she's maybe 22. I'll say she's pretty young. And then we have another one, and I'm going to make that Pearl, and that's going to be Crabs, and she's a whale, and I'll say she's gray, and then I'd say she's like 17, because remember she had a prom, she went to SpongeBob. Now I can actually put more values in here, and notice between these parentheses, I'm going to copy this one, copy it, and just put it right here, and make sure there's a comma between the parentheses. And make sure there's no semicolon here, because semicolon goes at the very end. So there's Pearl, and let's add Squilliam. It's like William with squee in the front. And then it's going to be Fancyson. He's not Squidward's brother. He's like a cousin or something, or some rival. Fancy Son. And maybe he's 33 as well. Maybe he's same age as Squidward. And he's also gray, and he's also an octopus, I think. I don't know. But we'll put him in there, and maybe I'll copy one more, and I'll put Larry Lobster, and you can put anything you want. Larry Lobster. Now he's a lobster, and he's red. So now we have 2 red characters. And he's not 17, he's about 25. Let's say he's 25. All right, and I'm getting a little unexpected token near, so I have something. Oh. And look at that. If you see that, there's a problem. I didn't put a comma there, so I got to put a comma here. And that should go away. Now let's just look at this. It should be the first one, and then there should be values. In between the values, there should be a comma. Comma. Does it not like that? It doesn't like that at the end. Even though I think that's okay. It originally had that, but for some reason, it doesn't like that at the end. Well, now it's okay. I think I had to get rid of it. Now, what I'm going to do is run this query. So I'm going to do go. So it's the same thing as if we just put them in using those fields. This is what we do when you finally learn to do, and sometimes it works easier like this, because you could have a whole text file of, thousands of these, and you could go and put them in at one time instead of using fields. So eventually, code does help, other than using these kind of, front-end kind of tools like phpMyAdmin. But it's good to get you started. You know a little bit about it. Then when you learn some SQL, then you could do it on your own if you have to work in a terminal or bash console or something like that. So anyway, I'm going to run this, and hopefully this should add these characters into my table. Let's hit go. 4 rows were inserted, and I'll go to browse, and I should have everybody in there. So I have SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Eugene, Krabs, Sandy Cheeks, Pearl, Squilliam, Fancyson, Larry Lobster. If you want to add one more, you could just go to Insert. Let's add Plankton. His name is Sheldon. I don't know how old he is, but I'm sure there's some age there. But Sheldon Plankton, and he's a Plankton. So we'll go back here, and we'll put in Plankton. So his first name is Sheldon and Plankton. And you could put anybody else in you want. Mrs. Puff, whatever. Species, he's a plankton. And color, he's kind of, I guess I'll say he's green. And his age is, let's say he's 42. He has a kind of an older voice, you know what I mean? So we'll say 42. He's been around a while. Not old as Mr. Krabs, but maybe closer to Mr. Krabs. He's kind of his rival. So let's say he's 52, a little younger than Mr. Krabs. All right, so that's Plankton. And you don't have to put one here. So I'll just hit go. And it inserted one row, and we have 9 total. I'll go to browse, and here it is. Now here's my database, and it's SBRMH. And what I'm going to do is download this database. Now I have it. I could run through queries. Now we could do queries other places, but just to give you an idea, we have, let's do something. Let's say we want to find all the characters that are under 25 or that are red, whatever, however you want to filter this. But let's just go to SQL. And this will show you all the characters, but let's just say where. Where is kind of a limiter here. This gives it like specific attributes here. So what I'll do is say where, and I could say color, and I could go right over here. I'll put color, double click on it. Where color, and notice it uses these backticks. I don't think you'll always have to use the backticks, but it does use it in here. So I'll leave them here where color equals, I'll just put equals, and then I'll put in quotes red because we do have a string for that. So I'll do red. I'll put a semicolon. I don't think it'll give me an error. So to run this query, you could hit go. And we just ran a query, and it came up with 2 rows. So crabs and Larry Lobster are red, even though they're different species. Now I could go back to SQL, and let's say characters where age is less than 26. Let's just say that. And we'll hit go. And there's 3. Sandy Cheeks, Pearl Crabs, and Larry Lobster because he's 25. And you could do less than and equal to. And you could put it in certain orders. You could go here, and I could even just copy this. And go back to SQL. And paste it. And right after this, I could, I think, put ascending. So that would go from smaller to larger, I believe. And it should do from youngest to oldest. Because right now we're not specifying, so it's probably just using the order that it is in their rows. So let's hit go. And I have an error. If you ever have an issue, because I'm a little rusty at my doing my queries here, you could always go here to W3 Schools. W3 Schools, they have SQL. There we go, SQL. And let's see, order by, and they should have order by price, and then they'll have ascending and descending. Oh, they have order by, so I guess I still have to put that. Oh, because it doesn't know what to descend by. That's the problem. I just put ascending, and I didn't put order by, so it doesn't know what to use. So let me go back here. See, it had an error here, so we'll go back, and we'll put order by age, and I'll use the backticks. Not a quote, and I'll put ASC. And is it still giving me an order? It still doesn't like that thing at the end. Well, when I put it back, it seems to be okay. I'll hit go, and now that worked. So you have to tell it what it's ascending by. So I forgot that. So that's okay. Order by age, ascending, and there it goes with Pearl, Sandy, and then Larry Lobster. And if you wanted to find the ones that are female, no, we didn't do gender, so we don't have that. So anyway, there's our database. Now, if you wanted to export this database, I'll go over here, and we can actually export the database if we want. I'm going right on the database that I created, and I'm going to export it. And you can export it and bring it to your computer. That way, you know, it's not going to stay on here forever. Someone could go delete it if they want. You could just go to your database and do drop, do SQL and do drop and do the database name. And I'll show you how to do that if you want to drop it at the end, if you have any problem. So I'll go here to export. I don't think you have to do much here. You don't have to put in template or anything like that. You could put custom just to see what's coming up here. It's going to generate for the characters table. And I think it just makes an SQL file. I think that's all you have to worry about. And then we could bring that into pythonanywhere. That's what we're going to do next. But you don't have to look at all this. We're just going to say export tables. So it's going to export all the tables. We only have 1, characters. It has new there, but we don't have anything. And it's going to create SQL code to actually do this. So I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to do export. And it made sbrmh.sql. And then we're going to take that into something called pythonanywhere. We used that in Programming 1, and we used it in CSC 200. And if you don't have an account, you can make one. It's free, And I'll show you a couple things with that in the next video. But if you wanted to get rid of your database for whatever reason, now if you went here now and I didn't delete it, it'll still be here. You can mess with it or whatever, but I'd rather have you make your own. And then if you want to delete it at the end, so you don't want to have all these databases here, as long as you export it. Because if you export it, you actually have it. You could leave it here, but I just want to show you that if you wanted to delete it, and I don't necessarily have to delete it, but if you went to SQL and you just put drop database, I think it's drop database, and I'll backspace this and I'll hit that. I'll put it back. I think it's drop database. Let's try that. So let's hit go. It's gone. It dropped the database. And if I ever wanted to put it back, I can actually use SQL to go in here and actually create it. It'll actually create a database. So if I went and got my file, my SQL file, now you may not have something open this up. This will open up in VS Code. And if you don't have VS Code, I recommend downloading VS Code, which is a nice locally installed IDE, and it's kind of the one that most people use. I have an old version of VS Code here or something. But let me go here. Now, wherever this opens up, you can open it up into text file. I'm going to copy all this, copy all my code. And I could come back here and same name, SB_RMH. And I hit create. And I go to SQL. Let's see if this will let me do this. And I don't know, maybe it's having a hard time with this. Oh no, there it is. There it is. It brought it back. So I had to make the database first, and it's in here. So that's my database. Again, if I want to drop it, at least I know I have it, but I have to create it in phpMyAdmin. So if I go back here again, or I guess just go out to the server and go to SQL, and then just do drop database SBRMH, and I'll put a semicolon, no error, and hit go. It's gone. All right, what we're going to do next is go into Python Anywhere. This is Python Anywhere. You might have used it before. Just go to pythonanywhere.com, create a free account. You can create a free account. I have videos on it. I'll point you where those videos are, but they're in my Programming 1 playlist. You can create a free Python Anywhere account. You don't have to pay for anything. And you could create databases in it, and you can import databases in it. We used it a little bit. You can actually write Python in it and some other languages as well, but it's very vanilla. It doesn't have a front end like Replit where you can preview your web stuff in a new window. They do have a web app, but again, it's only certain things will it work with. So it's kind of bare bones, but it's a nice place to work with terminal and to work with Linux and bash commands and stuff like that, all kind of back-end kind of stuff. So it's nice to be able that you can create a database and import it right in here. Now, by the way, you're going to have a dashboard like this. Now, I have a bunch of stuff in my dashboard. It only lets certain consoles open at one time. So you can always go to consoles and close out of a console. You can go to databases. And I'm going to get rid of this database because I'm going to bring a database in there. All your databases use your username, your Python Anywhere username, a $, and then the name of the database. So if I have my new one, it's actually, I could leave this here, but I'm going to have one called HOMA-WCCC $, and it'll be SB_RMH. So I'll have a new one in there, and I'll tell you how to do that in the next video. But I also want to point out that in here, you can share code with me. Now, you can't share this code with me other than I could just go look and see something in there, but if it's still there. But if I go here, now I'm HOMA-WCCC right now. Now I have a whole bunch of accounts, obviously. And if this is your account, you're logged in, you had to verify your email, whatever you have to do when you create an account. If you go to your account and you see this stuff, oh, hacker, 5, all this, and there's a free part, it is free. So beginner free. So it is free. Don't think that you have to choose hacker or anything. I would never have you pay for something to do this. If you go to Education tab, just put in HOMA-WCCC. Now, I'm not going to do that because that's me. HOMA-WCCC. That's me. So use that. That's my username that I'm in right now. And that means that I can connect to you and see your stuff. So if you indicate that I'm your teacher under the Education tab in your account, then I could see your stuff if you have any problems when we do anything more in there. We're not going to do a whole lot with this, with Python Anywhere, because like I said, it's kind of a redirect from the problems I was having with MongoDB and all that, and I don't want to waste any more time with the semester winding down, and I thought this would be kind of fun and easier to do. probably tired of just looking at code and recreating code and not knowing exactly what's going on. And for some of this stuff like Flask and Node, it's not even easy for the people I'm watching videos. Some of these guys with, 1 million subscribers, they don't always explain the whys that well. And before the course is over, I'll show you some other guys who are really good. There's some really good YouTube people and Udemy people that are really good at what they do. And if you really want to dig into any of these topics a little bit more, I'll certainly help you with it, because I'm not going to be the one who's going to help you be this professional web developer out there. I'm giving you the basics: HTML, CSS. I could work with JavaScript, MySQL. I kind of have an overview of the back end a little bit, but I'm learning it too. So it takes a lot of time to learn, and things are changing every year. Everything's changing. There's always something new happening, and you never know which is the one that you're going to really invest time into. And they all require a lot of time to invest into it, whether it's WordPress or Bootstrap or anything. It takes a lot of time, so you really have to decide, where am I going to spend all my time learning things? So I'm just trying to give you a little overview of MySQL database, because it is used on the back end for a lot of web projects. Particularly WordPress is built upon MySQL databases, and it uses PHP to connect with it. So somewhere along the line, there's something that connects with it. Just like with Node.js, you have to use Express to connect with the database, to have that web kind of interface to connect with a server, and that's what PHP does. MySQL doesn't. You basically just talk to the database with MySQL, but you need some way to connect with it. So that's what the backend does. It connects with a database, and it uses certain languages like the MySQL language, or it may be using this language, querying a MongoDB. That would be something that you'd be embedding into your Node.js applications anyway. So that's kind of where we're going. So for the next part of this, we're going to work in Python Anywhere, and I'll show you a little bit about doing that. I'm not going to go over how to create an account. I'm going to assume you have one, and I'll just show you how to bring your database into it. So if you export your MySQL or MySQL database, whatever it's called, you could import it into Python Anywhere, and we could work with it in here a little bit. And again, just a little bit, not a whole lot. So that'll be coming up in part 3.